Imola for the very final round of this first season of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship live on Apex Racing TV. Happy that you can all join us on this Wednesday evening. Dane Baird here in the commentary booth alongside David Whitehouse, as always, with Marco Barbanera in the production booth, doing a fantastic job operating the cameras, but forgetting to use the B-roll for today. So we've got two 25-minute races to decide our champions. We got quite a few title contenders in both classes, but it looks like we have got a couple runaways that may be wanting to take the championship before we even reach the second race. David, you've been here for almost the entire season. We've got championship standings up on the screen, and there is one man who is basically dominated throughout this championship. Had a couple of off rounds in the middle of the championship, but a Sebring taking the win again, doing a fantastic job the whole way through. Kike Ming up at the top.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Kike has been the class of field, and earlier in the season he did make a couple of little mistakes but got away with it. And yeah, okay, he had that wobble at round 3, but he's been on podium every other time and picking up either pole or fastest lap in each of those races, so absolutely dominant at the moment. Brad Philpott, a late arrival to the championship, moving up, and again in the amateur class category, Graham Brown looking very comfortable out in front, but that battle for second place, so close between 3 drivers, with Joseph Saul as well not that far behind, so there's plenty here to play for, but obviously Graham Brown and Kike Ming will be just looking to solidify their championship and make sure that it's sealed as soon as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got second and third place in the championship tied on points. There is a drop round in the championship, so the point scored today might not even necessarily count towards the championship. If they are below the driver's current drop score, then the drop score is what will be applied after this race instead of their score for this round. And in qualifying, 5 minutes into the 10-minute session, and it's McCutchinson who's been Ming's closest rival, I'd say, for most of the season when he's been out there on the circuit. Has pole position at the moment, but only by 7 thousandths of a second. The margins are absolutely tiny here at Imola. It's not the easiest circuit in the world, especially not in the radicals, which are quite stiff. And as I say that, everybody looks like maybe in a drafting train or something of that matter. Maybe the tires have just come into their own at the moment, but they've just been beaten by 5 drivers all at the same time, so I guess it would be some sort of drafting train. It's now Lee up at the top of the timing tower by just over a 1/10 of a second.
Yeah, it's super close at this moment in time, and looking at it at the moment, obviously Danny Lee popped himself up there at the moment, but it's good to see John Hutchinson up there as well. He's been a driver who has had a very up and down season, looked like the guy who was going to challenge for a championship, going to challenge Kike Ming all the way to the line, and he's actually down in 7th in the points at the moment, which is not ideal for John, but he is up there to challenge for today's race. Daniel Beauchamp in 2nd place, Brad Philpott, who's trying to nick that second in the championship after missing round 1, up in 3rd currently, but Kike Ming down in 7th, so he needs to pull a bit of a lap out, and it's so easy to nullify your lap on this racetrack because of the chicanes and running wide. So we can see Danny Lee is coming towards the end of his lap and Brad Philpott at the bottom of the screen. So we'll just see what they come up with. We're on board with Danny at the moment. I think he's actually following Brad. So these two will come across the line at the same time. And here we go across the line. And will they improve? Yes, Danny Lee goes slightly quicker and Brad Philpott goes quicker, but actually loses down to 5th place. So crazy couple of laps there between 4 or 5 drivers, with Maxwell up in 2nd place as an AM driver.
Correct me if I'm wrong, am I mistaken, or is Maxwell the same driver who got 2nd at Spa-Francorchamps as well? I'm pretty sure he is. We didn't see him for the first half of the season, but then he's been doing fantastically well in qualifying. Got out of the way at the start of the race a bit at Spa, but doing it once more. Here's McCutchinson, no draft to speak of. He's not had any help from anyone on that lap, and he goes just over a 10th and a half behind Danny Lee up at the top. So he's now got 2nd place on the grid, as we were looking at Copeland, who's just coming around through turn 6 and up the hill now. As it looks like Englehart's gone off the circuit on his qualifying attempt, so he won't be finishing that lap, I'm sure. He will have to start on another one, 1:36.7. So that's not the shortest lap time that we've seen all season, but definitely not the longest either. That's not the best effort there. He's gone around and yeah, spun all the way around for Joseph Saul. No, it wasn't Saul. It was somebody else, I believe, but Tressida that went around there. So unlucky there, but because the car is so stiff, the Radical, there's very little flex in the chassis, and that means that it's always going to be difficult to go over the curbs like you would in, say, a GT3 car. The suspension's stiff, the entire body of the car is so stiff that it will just send you around if you unsettle a bit too much.
Yeah, exactly. And around a circuit like Imola, it's a bit like Monza. You want to attack the corners, you want to attack the curbs. So each of the drivers will have to try and evaluate what is best for them to do, as Kike Ming is going to come across the line in a minute. Got Joseph Soul as well, bringing in his first lap of, well, his first representative lap. He stays down in 18th place at the moment, but Haraski needing to find a little bit of pace from the pro drivers, but apart from that, everybody else sort of where we expect, apart from Maxwell, an absolutely dominant performance there at the moment. How far is he ahead? He is 1.2 seconds, 1.1 seconds ahead of the next amateur drivers. Tolman just pops into 10th place there. So 9/10 of a second. I can't do my maths right, but we'll just see Christian Engelhardt is on a better lap, I think. He comes across the line. He's green throughout. Yes, he moves up to 11th place. But we've got many drivers trying to improve. Daniel Beauchamp isn't at the moment. Looking at his lap time, here's Brad Philpott, who's had 3 green sectors, a yellow sector. So that means he's improved in the first 3 on his personal best, but he won't get across the line because that is the end of the qualifying session.
Yeah, that is it. 10 minutes gone, and everybody very unceremoniously kicked off the circuit as we get ready to go racing for the first of 2 25-minute races. Danny Lee starts from pole position with John McCutcheon alongside Luke Maxwell, first in the AMS, third overall. Another fantastic qualifying performance for the driver of the 247. Daniel Beauchamp starts in 4th with Aldous Puticlis in 5th, Brad Philpott in 6th, Mike Thurman in 7th, then Kike Ming all the way down in 8th. He was 8.5 tenths off of Danny Lee in pole position, so not the best start to his evening, that's for sure. Bob Humphrey in 9th, Marco Tolman in 10th, he's 2nd in the AM category. Christian Engelhardt and Sean Malloy round out the top 12. Aaron Smith, Graham Brown, Kev Copeland, Jack Reeve, your next 2 AM drivers. Mira Hraski, 2.5 seconds off in the pro class. He starts 17th on the grid. Joseph Saul in 18th, and then Thomas Seabass and John Tressida not setting lap times. I believe Thomas Seabass has a penalty, so that's why he isn't starting from the grid. But let's see how the drivers get underway here. I believe it's going to be a standing start, so it's going to be fairly difficult for the drivers to get underway. These cars aren't the easiest to start from a standing start, with quite a lot of power and obviously quite light cars as well. But what are you expecting heading into Tamburello for the first time?
One word: chaos. No, these drivers are very good, to be fair. I'd expect people like maybe Brad Philpott, Puticlis looking to try and get up there. Ming down in 8th, he's going to want a really good start and try and get a little bit further up, because while that 8th probably won't be a problem for him in the first race, he doesn't want to get into the battle. He's got amateurs just close behind him. He doesn't want to get into all that. Realistically, he wanted pole and to run away, but here come the lights.
Absolutely. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. We're ready to go racing here for the first time at Imola. Final round is green, and that's a fantastic start for Danny Lee up at the front. McCutcheon trying to come around the outside now, side by side, in towards turn 2 for the very first time. And it's Lee on the inside who will retake the lead. McCutcheon settles for 2nd. Maxwell continues in 3rd. Kike Ming still down at 8th. There's a spinner in the background. That's Puticlis in the 113 car, and he's the only casualty from the start of the race. So very clean stuff at the beginning. Kike Ming inherits the position there and he moves up into 7th, but Maxwell trying to actually get on the offensive here. Very different start to what he's decided to do at Spa-Francorchamps. He's getting on the aggression and trying to move up even into that top 2. They're side by side further back. Beauchamp and Philpott up the hill in towards Piratella. And it is Philpott who wins out on this occasion. The drivers will have to watch out for the off tracks and the instant limit here today at Imola. The instant limit is 16, so if they get 16 instant points they will have to go down for a drive-through penalty. Hopefully we don't see too many of those. It is only a 25-minute race after all, but as we pass the first minute of the race in towards Variante Alta for the very first time, and we'll see if everybody makes 16 through here.
Yeah, it's been there's a spin there for Engelhardt in the background out of the chicane as they come down towards Tosa now. Sorry, but this isn't Tosa, it's Rivazza. Get it right. I'll get it right in the end. But they go through the second part of Rivazza onto a start-finish straight. That's the end of lap 1, and it's Danny Lee who leads from John McHutchinson having a strong run, and Maxwell who is holding on to the back of him, and he's, like you said, he's took a different way of doing this. He sort of tried to keep out the way at Spa. Here he's gone, I will go with the leaders, I will pull out that gap and I won't be challenged from behind. Behind him is Brad Philpott, who's made a good start to the race, and Daniel Beauchamp, both of them in the fight for second in the championship, and maybe an outside bet of the championship itself. And there is Joseph Saul, who is currently 4th in class. He's now under pressure from Kev Copeland, who's gone through on the outside in the amateur category. Oh, it's actually Joseph Saul falling back there. I'm not sure if he's got damage or if he's just not on the right line, because that's what happens at Imola with this tight kind of circuit. You get offline, a couple of people pass you, and then the whole queue will come past. So, and we seem to have lost. Got an issue for Seabass at the end of the first lap, because he is now 28 seconds behind as we see Joseph Saul off at Aqua Minerale. So a very wonky wing of Engelhardt going past, so chaos at the moment.
Yeah, we'll see what happened here. It's probably the easiest place to lose the car on the entire circuit. Joseph Saul coming through here now, getting on the power, straight around, didn't touch the curb or anything. Maybe just slightly too trigger happy with the throttle there and into the inside wall. Very little runoff on the outside of that corner since it is fairly slow speed. But yeah, very easy place to do that, and Joseph Saul not feeling particularly comfortable in the car at the moment. Here comes Kike Ming then, and he's alongside and up the inside of Thurman, the German, in 7th. Up into Tamburello, and good move there. Very simple stuff. He got the move done before the turn-in point, so very nice for Ming up into 6th place. Update on Seabass, he did have a pit lane start, which is why he's dropped a bit further back. Obviously not going to have the advantage of the draft, so it won't help him to catch up to the queue, that's for sure. And yes, Joseph Saul into the pit lane at the moment. Took a very short stop, so he is going to carry on, just taking the fast repair that's available to the drivers in each of the races, and he will be back on his way now. As we take a look a little bit further ahead, Daniel Beauchamp dropping back from Philpott slightly, still less than a second between the two of them, around about 6/10 or so, but yeah, not catching up the gap, not sticking with him as closely as he would have wanted. Kike Ming, on the other hand, is starting to catch them. Another gap that's starting to come up is Maxwell and Philpott. Philpott slightly closing down the gap between himself and the highest rated amp.
Yeah, it's quite close still. The whole top 12 covered by less than 10 seconds. Now, around a circuit like Imola, it is a bit stop-start, so you do quite often get these queues of cars, shall we say. I mean, I know there's a bit of a gap between odd ones, but so far it's looking like Kike Ming's the one holding up part of the pack as Danny Lee heads across the stripe to set another fastest lap of race, and looking very dominant around this Imola circuit, pulling away from Mick Hutchinson, who has Maxwell under pressure. But I think Maxwell will probably just sit there for now. There's no need to try and push Mick Hutchinson into anything more than a mistake until this group, a very quick group of 2 cars, Brad Philpott and Daniel Beauchamp, try and close down. They're trying to pull away from Kike Ming, who I think Kike might be just taking it easy, trying to get a result to take the championship in this race, because this isn't the pace we normally see from Kike. He's normally very, you know, when he's in this position, he'll be a second or so quicker, move forward, try and pass the guys. At the moment, he's just trying to hang back, and maybe it's the pace he's got around Imola, but I think there's probably a little bit more in his pocket, and he just doesn't want to make a mistake.
I think for Kike Ming, it's more about finishing the races. He has absolutely nothing to prove. We know that he is definitely one of the fastest in the series, and he does not need to get a DNF here. I think he's just taking it a bit easy. He doesn't want to make any risky moves. He made a very clean move on Thurman earlier on in the race a couple of laps ago. He doesn't need to finish any higher than he is at the moment. If he finishes here in 6th place, that'll put him nicely on the grid for heat number 2, or for the feature race. And then he'll be well and truly on his way. He's already leading the title chase by quite some distance, so all he really needs is to finish the race in a half respectable position. Right now, 6th place for him, perfectly fine. Obviously, he's a racing driver. He's obviously very competitive. He will want to move forward, but I don't think he's going to risk it too much. He sets the fastest lap of the race that time by, so still obviously has a little bit more pace in his back pocket. Looking at the AM Championship here, you can see Maxwell still leading that by 5.7 seconds, so really doing a fantastic job, keeping up with McCutcheon in 2nd, who's also proved to be one of the fastest drivers in the series as well. They've been dropping back slightly though from Danny Lee, so that's interesting. 1.3 seconds is the gap at the moment. It was only just over half a second a few laps ago, so yeah, Danny Lee starting to try and increase the gap a bit. He obviously knows he's got Philpott, Beauchamp, Ming, some very quick drivers in the radicals starting to come up and pressure the drivers straight behind him. So I hope he wanted to try and extend that gap as much as possible. Remember, he had that heartbreaking moment in the race at Sebring last week where going through Tower, and then all of a sudden, bang, bang goes the engine, that is, and his race, well, his competitive race was basically over. So very unfortunate stuff for him. He's trying to bounce back with a win in this first race, and right now, he's doing everything right in order to take it.
Yeah, he certainly is. He's just stretching that lead out to about 2 seconds just to keep it at a safe distance, so he can make the odd mistake running wide on an apex and not have it cost him a position. Looking further back, Seabass has caught Treseda at the back of the field, so he's now in a slipstream of sorts, so that's good for Seabass to close that up, and Puticlis on his charge back up to 17th. He's 24 seconds off the lead, so that cost him a lot, but 36.9 by Kike Ming. Maybe he's listening to us, because we said he wasn't on the move, but that is definitely well and truly on the move. I think he's the only driver who was in the 36s last time by. Actually, he's the only driver who has done a 36 in the whole race. So yeah, Kike Ming is now on the move and on the back of Daniel Beauchamp.
Yeah, he's definitely pushing a bit more than I would expect him to. Obviously, I guess he wants to finish the season on a high. He probably knows he's got the championship all but wrapped up at the moment, and depending on what his drop score is, I'm not entirely sure what his drop score is, but he's had very good rounds almost every single round. But depending on what his drop score is compared to others, I know Philpott's drop score is 0 because he didn't do one of the rounds. McCutcheon also has a drop score of 0, so I'm pretty sure Ming doesn't even need to finish this race. He probably could have even not turned up and still won the championship. So I think he's just out here to have some fun and try and get a fantastic result to end off the season. We're just about 10 minutes into this race, and as you said earlier, Lee is still extending that gap up at the top, but Ming still the only person to reach into those 36-second lap time, 1 minute 36-second lap times. But yeah, very nice, two and a bit seconds of a gap between Lee and McCutcheon up right at the front. Looking at second in AMS at the moment, Marco Tolman in the 229 Radical, looking back at Sean Malloy, who's currently in 10th place overall. They've got Smith just behind. Is Malloy going to go for a move up the inside in towards Tamburello on lap number 7? He is side by side through the first part of the corner, and oh, there goes Smith in the background. Aaron Smith gets a bit too close, so those two in front going side by side, obviously not going as quickly as he was when he was all on his own, and had to slam on the brakes to try and avoid the two cars in front of him and probably locked up the rears and around he went.
Yeah, it's sort of been the story of Aaron Smith's year, I think. He's been very quick at times, but just the odd mistake there. He was just trying to carry the speed through the corner, couldn't hit the brake, and it spun him round. But going back to KK Ming and his championship, I have actually been in a position where if I turned up, I think it was 21 points on offer and I was 19 ahead. So it was actually safer for me not to turn up. Or, yeah, it was something like that anyway. I was in a position that the only way I could lose the championship was to be disqualified. And I turned up to race as Jack Reeve is getting back up to speed there. It looks like he's had a bit of an issue up at the top of the hill. We'll just see it here. Just turns in and a bit of a wobble and a bit of contact and both go round. So I'm not sure who that was with. That's Jack Lee and Kev Copeland. So both drivers rejoining the field after losing a couple of positions, as Aaron Smith now goes for a move on Haraski, who is moved up to 13th after his poor qualifying. But back to the championship, I've been in that position where you turn up, if you get disqualified, you might actually lose the championship, so it was better not to turn up. I still turned up and raced, but it is so much pressure there not to have a ding-dong battle with somebody and maybe pick up a penalty that will cost you that championship, when all you need to do is sit where he is. He's behind Daniel Beauchamp, he's behind Brad Philpott, so that is 3rd and 4th in the championship sorted. Kundalis not in the field today, he's 2nd in the championship, so his worst result currently is a 0, so he's sort of out of it now. And yeah, this is a very comfortable position for KK Ming. He also knows that Beauchamp and Philpott have had some battles this year on, I think that's Red Bull and wherever we were after that, I can't quite remember. But the two drivers have sort of been glued together since Philpott has joined the series, and it's now meant that they're actually quite close in the championship as well, and Kike doesn't need to get involved in that fight. There could be, I'm not saying there is, but there could be a bit of needle between them two later in the race, and Kike could pick up 4th place anyway.
Yep, for sure. That's definitely a possibility. It's something he has to watch out for. The last thing he definitely needs is a penalty, of course. And oh dear, Humphrey has found himself in pit entry, and that is not where he wants to be. He's got spun around there. I have a feeling there's been a bit of contact here of some kind. Although, once we go to the replay, there's no one around him, so I don't think he's made contact with anything. He's run wide, definitely, that's for sure. He's got on the gravel. There's some tyre marks there on the grass. Oh, and it just snapped on him. Big impact with the wall. Round he goes a couple times and gets back going again. He will probably take a fast repair depending on how bad the damage is. He'll take a lap to figure that one out. But yeah, luckily for him, he doesn't look like he has any race-ending damage, that's for sure. The gap between McCutcheon and Lee has decreased by about half a second over the last few laps. We're just over halfway through the race now, 11 minutes to go. And McCutcheon's starting to get a bit of a move on. He doesn't want to be involved in that battle, I think, that Maxwell's falling into with Philpott, Beauchamp and Ming. So he's trying to catch back up to the leader of the race, see if he can't grab a sneaky win in this first race. We are going to have a reverse grid for this second race, and the reverse grid is 8. So 8 drivers will be inverted. So if you finish in 8th place in the first race, you'll start from pole position in the second race.
Yeah, so that's Sean Malau at the moment in on that position, but he has Tolman all over the back of him. The AM driver trying to get that reverse grid pole, which will put him in a great position in the AM category. He is currently sitting in 2nd place, equal with Kev Copeland. So this is actually already a great event so far for Tolman to take that 2nd in the championship in the amateur category. And he's got Brown just sitting behind him, so about 4 seconds back. So Graham Brown just trying to secure the championship in one way, as Humphrey now goes around. Is that around the outside of Haraski? That must have been a run and a half to make that move. But that is, no, that's Humphrey behind Smith, sorry. So it's Smith on his recovery drive after that spin, and it's going to be interesting to see. It's Humphrey runs wide there, and he may get under. I'm sorry, just see the rear wing of Engelhardt's car behind Haraski, and yeah, there's definitely some wing angle on that.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's from the first lap or possibly the second lap. No, it was the first lap through in towards Varianti outer. Just after that corner, I think he got a bit trigger happy, maybe hit the curb a bit too hard, but ended up backwards into the wall on the left-hand side of the circuit, the right-hand side of our screens near the start of the race on the first lap, I believe. But he's still running quite nicely, 5th in the AM Championship. But as we've said all season, the points are not scored based on what class you're in. So he's going to score points for not 5th, he will score points for 14th. So any moves that he can make on even pro drivers are definitely going to help him in his championship campaign. Ming, still in the 36s, now doing a 36.7. He's had a bit of a help with the draft from Beauchamp in front, and that's now we're going to become dirty air, although these cars don't really do that too much. They sort of just give you draft and not much of the dirty air. Very fun cars to drive and very good cars to race. I think it was Danny Lee that was comparing them to touring cars earlier in the season in a chat after one of the rounds. But yeah, these Ming really doing a good job of setting consistently quick lap times, and he's now right on the back of Beauchamp. I would not be surprised to see a move being made by the Spaniard on the next time by heading in towards Tamburello. Mixed up two corners. They're heading into Piratella and trying to talk about Tamburello at the same time. Proved a little bit too much for my brain there. But yeah, through Aqua Minerali now. And Philpott pressuring Maxwell. Is obviously leading the AMs by a considerable margin. But since the points are scored overall, it means that Maxwell will want to carry on and keep that 3rd position. That's for sure. As Tolman's dropped back. Just looking back at the reverse grid is what I was looking at. Malloy and Tolman, they were battling, and now there's a 2.5 second gap between the two of them. So I'm not sure what's happened to Tolman there. And he was pressuring for that pole position for race number 2, which could definitely help him in his championship battle. If Brown doesn't get into that reverse grid as well, that could definitely help him out there. As we're going to see now possibly a move being made. Oh, very close there. Maybe having to back out of it as Beauchamp getting held up a little bit by Philpott in front of him. So that's that got very hairy for a moment. Oh, and that's a slowdown. Is it a slowdown or is he getting out of the way? You can never tell with Max. When we saw him get out of the way at Spa, I don't think that was slow enough to serve a slowdown from Tamburello. So my guess is right there, he's just getting out of everybody's way. Probably not the least wise thing to do, probably very wise from him. Just get out of everyone's way, doesn't want to make contact. 6th place is still a very good finishing position for him, especially when he's leading the AMS cars by 12 seconds at the moment. But that has released Philpott, Beauchamp and Ming. They can now battle between themselves and start to try and catch the leading 2 cars. 1.2 seconds between the top 2 cars, and then we've got 3 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. So that's the gap that Philpott, Beauchamp and Ming will try and catch up now, but there's only 6 minutes left in the race to do so. So more or less 4 laps to go, and we'll see what these drivers can do in those final 4 laps. Are they going to be able to catch them at the top? I'm not too sure, but I'm more interested to see if McHutchinson can catch up to Lee, because he has closed down the gap considerably. It's now just over a second. What do you think, David? Do you think he's going to be able to catch him by the end?
At the pace he's going at the moment, yes, definitely. Danny Lee started the race on fire, pulling out about a 2-second gap, but that is now under a second by McHutchinson. Closed 0.3 on the last lap, and I think this battle will be just to do with the battle for 3rd place. Maxwell only actually done 1 event this year, so he has nothing to gain by finishing 3rd or 6th. He just is here to try and win the amateur category. So at the moment he's doing that. That's probably why he just got out of the way. It's not like he has a championship to fight for. As we now see Humphrey under pressure from Haraski. Haraski slowly moving through the field. And he has now made that move on Bob Humphrey. And here comes Christian Engelhardt with the wonky wing. he needs to keep that all year. We could spot which one he is then, as he goes up the inside of Humphrey and doesn't quite make it through into Villeneuve chicane. But and they keep their order from before the chicane. But just looking at the front, that is going to be a tasty battle between Philpott, Beauchamp and Ming. But there is the gap. You can see at the bottom, Danny Lee is losing time throughout the sectors to John McCutcheon. McCutcheon, who has had a bit of an up and down season this year. Won round 3, second in round 1, sorry, but not a lot else to shout about this year for John. So he will be looking to end the season on a high, this first round season of the Radical Apex Racing League Championship, and he's closing right in as Brad Philpott goes ultra defensive to Daniel Beauchamp as the fastest lap of the race goes in from Hutchinson, but Beauchamp being defended against by Philpott, and this is what I mean, these two are so closely matched on pace and have been battling throughout the rounds. I think they've almost been glued together, so they may as well run in the same colour scheme the way it's been going. But yes, it'll be interesting to see who will come out on top here as Ming goes to the inside of Beauchamp and he makes it move. Will he keep that? Yes, he will, to take the position. And actually Furman has caught onto the back of this to make it to the top 7, all covered by less than 6.5 seconds.
Yep, not a bad job at all by Ming up the inside of Tosa. That's a brilliant move actually. It's very difficult to make that one stick. Quite often you'll see the car on the outside get a nicer run out of the corner and just pull away and extend the lead just a little bit. But not the case for Beauchamp in that opportunity. Ming doing a fantastic job of getting himself up into 4th. He's now only got one overtake to make before he can say he is now in the podium positions. And I'm not too sure how many laps we're going to have left, possibly only one. Actually, no, it's definitely going to be 2 laps to go. As Lee pulling the gap away from McCutcheon a little bit on that last lap. He did run a bit wide out of the final corner. McCutcheon, of course, setting the fastest lap of the race last time by. We'll see what they can do on this lap. So 137 flat for Lee, and he's gained 2/10 on McCutcheon on that lap. So it's definitely looking to be an interesting battle here. Ming riding on board with him at the moment, looking back at Beauchamp, who's trying to hold it around the outside into the first braking zone of the circuit. Not able to make anything happen there. Good defense by Ming, not giving him any chance of getting down the inside, which is really where you want to be if you're going to make a move down into Tamburelli. Through Villeneuve now and uphill once again towards Tosa. We saw this is where Ming got past Beauchamp on the last lap, but Beauchamp's nowhere near close enough to try and make a send up the inside on Ming on this occasion. We are on the penultimate lap of this race. We will have 1 lap to go next time by, and Lee looking fairly comfortable up at the front. McCutcheon obviously is right there ready to pounce if he makes a mistake, but if he can keep up the pace he's been giving us, they're really surely going to take home the win in this first race.
Yeah, he's sort of pegged that gap at 0.6 of a second, 0.7 of a second now, so I think he may have this all under control. But one mistake and that will put McCutcheon on the back of him on the final lap, and that's not what he wants. Philpott under immense pressure from Kike Ming now, with Daniel Beauchamp just taking a watching brief at the moment. Kike made a mistake down here at Rivatsa a couple of on the last lap actually, which put him under pressure from Beauchamp, let Brad Philpott get away, but now he's closed back in on Philpott and he wants that podium from this first race here tonight. Philpott will try and break the toe. Yeah, there you can see on the last lap he's trying to break the toe, but it's going to have to be a white line job, I think, up the inside. Yes, he defends up the inside. Kike has nowhere to go, and Brad Philpott will continue to hold on to 3rd place, but he has a train of cars behind him, including Kike Ming, Daniel Beauchamp, Luke Maxwell and Furman, all looking to try and get that 3rd place on the podium. But out in front it is still Danny Lee leading the way.
I thought Ming might try and make something happen here at Tosa, but Brad Philpott covered him off quite nicely. No, he didn't. They're almost making contact, and actually they are now side by side, heading up the hill. Ming went all the way around the outside, got a fantastic run. Now up the hill towards Piratella. They are making contact. The side pods are making contact, and Kike Ming is out in the gravel. Beauchamp now takes 3rd position, and Kike Ming drops all the way down to 7th place, and now bit of contact being made here as well through Aqua Minerale. Beauchamp under huge pressure from Philpott behind, who's also equally under pressure from Maxwell. But out in front, 7.5 seconds ahead of these two, is Danny Lee leading John McHutchinson, doing a fantastic job. 0.8 of a second is the gap as he tries to head through the final couple of corners, and surely will take the win in the race. But Beauchamp there, seeing the opportunity for him and sending it around up the inside as the 2 drivers in front of him run wide. But for Danny Lee, he'll take win number 2 in his championship here at Imola. First race is complete, and Lee has done a fantastic job of leading that one from the lights to flag. And then we're going to have a side-by-side photo finish here at the end between, I believe that's Maxwell and Ming, and Ming just about got him by just over 1/10 of a second. A couple more drivers still racing right to the flag as, oh, it's a big lock up for Engelhardt, and there goes all this Putiglis up into 13th position, and Engelhardt, very unfortunate stuff for him, still will finish 5th in the AM category, so good stuff from him. Is that a slowdown in the background, or has Humphrey run out of fuel? I think he's run out of fuel. He's dropping back massively out of the final corner, but should easily make it as, yeah, he easily does make it over the line there. I think he might have actually just had a slowdown, really. Not too much to worry about for him there. But that is going to round out the first race of the event. We have got the 25-minute race 2 coming up in a few minutes, but first we're going to go and have a quick break. We'll be right back with the results from race 1 and race number 2. Don't go anywhere. Well, welcome back everybody to Imola, where we have just seen a fantastic first 25-minute race of the final round of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship, live of course on Apex Racing TV. Here are your race 1 results, and Danny Lee taking a pretty comfortable win, led from lights to flag, and that's the 2nd win of the season. Definitely a fantastic comeback from him after that devastating engine blow up in last round at Sebring. John McHutchinson finished just behind him in 2nd, and then Daniel Beauchamp in 3rd, just about finishing in 3rd after a bit of contact between Brad Philpott and Kike Ming, which sent Philpott onto the runoff area and allowed Daniel past, and Kike Ming got sent into the gravel. Finished Got sent all the way back to 7th, but then right at the end got past Luke Maxwell for that position. In all of this, Mike Thurman went from 7th to 5th as well, so good result for the German. 8th place, Sean Malloy will start from pole position in race number 2 as the top 8 have been inverted. We'll get the full grid up on the screen after the results. Marco Tolman in 9th, 2nd place in the AMS. Aaron Smith and Graham Brown finishing 10th and 11th. Mirafasky in 12th, Aldous Buticlis in 13th, got past Christian Engelhardt on the final corner to gain that 13th spot. Obviously, Engelhardt in 14th after that one. Thomas Seabass starting from the pit lane, so had an already 30-second disadvantage at the start of the race. Still managed to claw back his way into 15th. Jack Reeves finishes in 16th, Kev Copeland in 17th, Bob Humphrey in 18th, Joseph Saul and John Tressida 19th and 20th. John obviously not finishing the race as he finished 9 laps down from the leaders. A couple of drivers ending up in the walls or making contact with other drivers, but for the most part, a fairly clean race, and hopefully we'll get some more of that in the second one.
Yeah, hopefully it'll be a really clean race. I have just got something a little to add. I've got to say thanks to the Apex Racing crew for allowing me to say this. On Sunday it was, in the UK at least, a National Mental Health Awareness Day, and I am a sufferer myself, and it's just a little something to say, you know, there's people out there who will be suffering in silence and it's not worth it. Talk to somebody, you will find help. Whatever you're suffering from. I suffer from anxiety and OCD. I'm trying to get treatment for it at the moment. The queue, you know, if you go to your doctor, you may have to wait a little bit to get onto what you need to get on, but bear with it. They are very good at what they do. They will get people better. So if you do struggle with anything, please get in touch with your doctor. They can help you, and you're not alone. There's plenty of people out there struggling with the same kind of things, and you know, you get images of maybe being put in a straitjacket. That's ridiculous. You will be fine. You know, just get the help you need and talk. You have to talk. And if you're not suffering yourself but you think somebody is, go talk to them and try and help them out, because it's very easy to try and be brave and say you haven't got an issue, but if you have, you can get the help for it. So please go out there and find it from your doctor or your nearest health centre.
A lovely message there from David, and just in time because we have got now the grid up on the screen. As I mentioned earlier, 8th place in heat number 1 means that Sean Malloy starts on pole position for this second race. Luke Maxwell will start in 2nd place on the front row. Kike Ming, probably more like where he would want to be starting a race, in 3rd position. Mike Thurman in 4th, Brad Philpott in 5th, Daniel Beauchamp in 6th, John McCutcheon in 7th, Danny Lee starts in 8th after winning the first race, of course. As everybody else gets on the grid, they will start in the same positions that they finished race number 1 in. You can see those on your screen now as everybody is getting ready to go racing. You said that we were going to get chaos at the start of the first race. We didn't really get it. We had a couple offs here and there, but for the most part, everybody was great. Everybody was all right. They've been now heading into this second race. We are just about ready to go. Everybody is on the grid. The lights are on and we are ready to race. Hopefully we don't get chaos as David wanted us to get in race number 1. The lights are out and we are green for the second race, and that looks like a good start from Kike Ming from 3rd position. They're almost going 4 wide at the front there. Maxwell's already dropped down to 3rd place, and Ming is in the lead of the race by the time we head into Tamburello. It's Maxwell fighting with Philpott for 2nd and 3rd. I've no idea what's happened in the background. Big contact in the background. 4-5 drivers involved in that one, and more drivers falling down the field as well. It looks like Dressler, Smith, Reeve, Brown, all involved in an incident heading out of turn 4. But Ming has already got a 7/10 advantage over Philpott behind in 2nd. We saw what those two got up to at the end of the first race. Hopefully we can get some more clean racing this time from those two drivers in this second race. But big contact at the start of the race, though we saw a couple of drivers going off and then collecting others. Obviously once you get onto the grass, it's very difficult to avoid to change the direction that you're going in. But yeah, not the cleanest start we've had all season, and as a result, the grid very much different to what we started with at the moment. Kike Ming up 2 places in first place, Philpott up 3, Maxwell's down 1, Beauchamp's up 2 as well. The biggest mover, unfortunately, at the moment is Graham Brown. He's lost 9 places and he is now towed back to the pit lane. But as we come towards the final few corners of the first lap, it is Ming followed by Philpott, followed by Maxwell, your top 3, and we're riding on board with Danny Lee, who's gained a position and is trying to gain a couple more as Thurman and McCutcheon going side by side, even making a little bit of contact right in front of him.
Yeah, that was a great start by Brad Philpott to move up into second place. Threaded the needle at turn 1 between 2 of the cars to move up into that second place and challenge Maxwell, who he knew would just probably back out of it and live to fight another day. We also have Trezida, Reeve, Smith all in the pit lane, but Graham Brown out in the pit lane and is towed back, sorry. So he's waiting to be able to take his pit stop, and Furman runs wide and he rejoins straight into Danny Lee, who cannot find a stroke of luck anywhere, and it doesn't seem like with his double race system at any point will he end up actually having 2 decent races put together. Not his fault there, it's just Furman on the outside went too deep, caught it onto the grass and then just rejoined, and Danny Lee had nowhere to go and he had to go through the gravel trap there, the famous gravel trap that Yuichi Ide finished in on his last Grand Prix ever. But back at the front, Ming and Philpott 1.2 second lead. Maxwell holding on to Philpott and bringing Beauchamp with him at this stage. But McCutcheon has dropped back. He's 4 seconds back from that pack now, with Tolman and Puticlis on his recovery drive after the mistake in the first race. Oh, and there's contact there as a 3 wide down to Rivatsa. Imola doesn't do 3 wide, boys. Calm down. It's only lap 2. But McCutcheon holds on to position from Puticlis and Tolman, but Puticlis back on the inside along the pit wall and past McCutcheon. Will he get it into turn 1?
Well, he's got the inside line now, but now he's almost trying to go 3 wide again. They are almost going 3 wide again. I think that's Tolman trying to get past there as well, and almost making contact in the braking zone into Tamburello once more. They're side by side a bit further back. Humphrey around the outside of Tolman, almost making contact again. Very close racing here. Somehow they're keeping it clean for now, heading into Villeneuve, and Humphrey gets that move done. Engelhardt trying to make a move on Tolman, but it's actually Sean Malloy that's trying to come back after a terrible start to the race for him. He's dropped all the way back down to 13th, I believe. He's now made his way back up into 10th place, so trying to get on the comeback drive a little bit for Sean Malloy. So not the best start to his race, having started on pole position. Looking a bit further back, we've got Maxwell running wide there at Aqua Minerali. He will get a lovely slowdown penalty for that, I believe, and Beauchamp has got past. It looks like Maxwell's very lucky with that and has escaped with a 1x only. And something that's really interesting that I found in the races so far, the first race especially, the drivers are really launching it over the entry curve into Variante Alta there.
Yeah, they definitely are. It is a corner you have to attack, but if you attack it wrong, especially in these flat bottom radicals, you're going to be taking off and spinning round as Lee gets past Haraski on his comeback drive after his little trip to the beach on the outside of Villeneuve. But he's certainly showing that he's got some pace. Kike Ming, fastest lap of the race, 37.267. He's just stretching that gap now out to 2 seconds from Brad Philpott, who's just ahead of Daniel Beauchamp. So looking at this, if it stays as it is, it will be Kike Ming who claims the championship from Brad Philpott, who missed the opening round and had a lot of work to do. But he looks like he will take second in the championship, and then Daniel Beauchamp will probably take third. And that means that if I just have a quick look at the points again, it will possibly be a battle between Puticlis, Furman and McCutcheon for 4th or 5th. That all depends how far Kundalis falls down the field. But anyway, back to the race, and McCutcheon having to defend slightly now with Puticlus, who we saw spin on the opening lap of race 1, has been on his recovery drive ever since. He's just glad it was the 2 shorter races rather than the hour-long race, because it meant he got to close them gaps back up on the second half of it. But he's absolutely flying at the moment. Furman has just done Engelhardt for 9th place, and Danny Lee is only 12 seconds off the lead, so maybe he can find a little bit of pace now. Oh, Beauchamp is off. There he is. He's ran wide at Rivazza. Rivazza 1, I think it is. He's all by himself, so I don't, apart from outbraking himself, which I think he must have done. Oh, he's on the curb on entry, and it just slides afterwards. I think he was on the outside curb on entry, and that just unsettled the car, but now he'll have to watch out for McCutcheon.
Yep, and his tyres won't be happy with him either. Those tyres definitely will be slightly overheated, which always is not what you really want, especially in these radicals where you've got quite a fair bit of power going through. Those rear wheels can be quite easy to spin. You often see on iRacing people spin once, they will spin a couple more times at least before the tyres, they figure out that the tyres are going to have to be treated very nicely for a few laps after the spin. So Beauchamp now will start to lose a little bit of time. He won't have as much grip as he would otherwise, and McCutcheon is slowly starting to close down that gap. Reeve is into the pit lane, and this time Wyatt's the 5th driver we've seen head down to the pit so far in this race. And meanwhile, Ming has got a lovely almost 3-second gap out there in front. Oh, it's a slowdown, I believe, for Beauchamp heading into Aqua Minerale and now into Variante Alta. So not the greatest turn of events for him. You have to see he's having to slow down even more. I wonder, that seems like a lot of slowing down for one slowdown, possibly even got a second one over Variante Alta there.
Yeah, he could have done very much so, and he's down into 9th place. The surprise I've suddenly seen is Bob Humphrey. Bit of contact by Danny Lee as, was that Engelhardt? That is outside, I think. So, bit of contact. He just got such a run out of Rivazza. He ran into the back of Engelhardt, who has now fallen behind Malloy as well. But Bob Humphrey doing a great job up in 6th place currently. Sort of snuck up there, because every time we've seen him, he's been in a battle or an incident here tonight. Not always of his own doing or anything like that, just being very aggressive. Oh, and speaking of Humphrey, there he was on the chicane, almost losing it, and almost the commentator's curse taking him out of that race then. But he's now got a queue of Tolman, Furman, Beauchamp and Lee all behind him, and this is Bob Humphrey coming across the line. That's alright. Marco just trying to pick up a different replay as Furman now goes to the inside of Tolman. Tolman will probably let that go. He's got his 2nd in the amateur category to deal with. So we will just see whether he wants to hold on to that, because Graham Brown is down in 16th at the moment, 1 lap down. Now another incident for Brown, and he won't be scoring points here today. So that could be quite crucial in the amateur category.
Ooh. Oh dear, that's not good for him. Run off wide again there at Rivazza, and oh, that's also Humphrey off the circuit on the exit of Rivazza there. So we'll have to get a replay and see what has happened here. It looks like the commentator's curse might have waited a little bit before taking into effect. Oh, big send up the inside. There's no way he's making the corner there. No, he doesn't. That's what we saw with Beauchamp earlier. And oh, just a bit loose. And then how on earth has Bob Humphrey kept that going in a straight line?
That was pretty impressive car control. And I think it was pretty impressive replay action by Marco there, I think, to put the 2 incidents together like that. That was great work by him. But yeah, how Humphrey held on to that, because he caught it and then it gripped up and it swung him the other way. Is that Beauchamp around again? No, it's Sean Malau, who has been watching Beauchamp too often and tried to recreate him. Beauchamp really just struggling with the brakes down into Rivazza, and Danny Lee on the screen now, back up to 7th place. He's on the comeback drive and very much in position to try and win this event. He won the first race, he's in 7th now. With that gravel incident earlier on, I thought it may be curtains for him, but he's coming back through the field. And if Kike wins this, I think Lee only needs to probably finish, Ming was like 5th, I think, in the first race, so possibly. I forgot now. But yeah, Lee needs to make a few more positions first before we start thinking about him winning the event.
Yeah, absolutely. He does need to sort of gain a couple more places. It was very unfortunate. Very actually good avoidance skills by Danny Lee to not make contact when he did end up going off at Villeneuve. He kept it out the barrier as well, so good car control from him to avoid the contact and avoid the wall on the outside as well. I did just want to mention one thing very, very quickly. Is you mentioned commentators' curses earlier, David. I think if there's only one person in the broadcasting booth at the moment, note I did say broadcasting and not commentating. If there's one person in the broadcasting booth that is going to cause a commentator's curse here, it's Marco Barbanera. He's had his fair share of commentators' curses over the last couple of years. A couple of them come to mind straight away. Scott Malcolm and Bradley Haley are two of the biggest ones that I remember. Some real big ones caused by Marco Barbanera in the last couple of years.
Oh, that's Humphrey.
Oh, you've done it.
It's Humphrey off at Aqua Minerale. I'm not sure. That was a weird one. He just went straight on. I don't know whether his wheel disconnected or something, but that was a very strange one indeed. We're on board with him here.
Oh,
he was straight on well before then. Here we go. We'll see here. Yeah, just whoa. Very strange one by Bob Humphrey there. So I think that possibly was a mechanical issue in his own pod or wheel that he had. Yes, it's not great, but I can tell that Marco could remember those commentator curses because the chuckle in our ear while he was while you were mentioning, as we now look back at Brad Philpott in 2nd place with Luke Maxwell doing a tremendous job as the amateur leader here today around the Imola circuit. Must really suit him, but he better not keep this pace up because they'll be making him a pro next time.
Yeah, Maxwell's really impressed, and especially this round at Imola. At Spa, he did a fantastic qualifying and then dropped back a bit at the start intentionally, and then didn't really catch back up. But he's done a fantastic job so far here at Imola. He was very much on pace with the fastest drivers in the series. So yeah, maybe not deserving of that name that he's got in his class. So maybe he should be in the pro category. It might be a little bit late to change it over now, but certainly if there is a second season and he does decide to turn up, I think after his performances in the second half of the season, there might be a couple of petitions out by the drivers to get him moved up into the pro category. Danny Lee is right on the back of Thurman here. Goes to the lunge up the inside into very empty outer, just trying to put him off. That is fantastic for Danny Lee. He sent it up the inside. Well, he looked like he was going to send it up the inside, and that put Thurman off enough that he missed the corner ever so slightly, got a very slow exit, and Lee just drove straight past him. So good mind games being played there by Danny Lee. Thought about that one for a while and figured out the best way to get past the German in 7th place. Ming setting another quick lap up at the top. Philpott setting a personal best for himself, but is 5 seconds back. We are just about now 10 minutes to go of the season here in round number 6, race number 2 of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship, and it is the championship leader and most likely championship winner who is out in front by 5 seconds at the moment. He is absolutely dominated this season so far. I believe there's only 3 races. No, it is 2 races this season that he hasn't won. No, it is 3. I'm just going back through them in my head. He's only not won 3 races this season out of the 9, I believe. Absolute domination from Kike Ming out there at the front of the field at the moment, and very much looking like he will be taking the championship home. If he somehow doesn't take the championship home, I will be shocked. let's put it that way. We have got a bit of a battle here. Lee and Thurman trying to get past Buticus, and I think Lee actually might make a lunge down the inside into Variante Outer here. They are side by side, and Lee takes the preferred inside line. His car bouncing massively over the curb there and onto the second apex, and I thought they were going to go 3 wide down the hill in towards Ravazza, but that's never really going to work, is it? Daniel Lee on the outside now of Buticus, who goes up the inside, bit of a lock-up, and Lee slots just behind, but now gets a wider line through the second part of the corner, a little bit loose on the exit, won't help his cause, but definitely within drafting range now. 0.2 of a second is the gap between them, and that gap is closing down. I think we're going to see a move being made.
This will be a mistake by KK
very
Ming.
quickly, but I think you're right. We're going to see a replay in towards Variante Outer, one of the easier spaces to make a mistake. Oh, and is he spun all the way around? No, it's a half spin over the curb, bounces around. We were talking about that a bit earlier, and yeah, that's put him within a second of the driver behind. Lee did get past Buticus in towards Tamburello, so he now moves up into 5th and hopefully can try and close down a little bit of the 6-second gap in front, but I think 5th is just about as far as Danny Lee will be able to go. We'll see what happens here, David, as they head down into Ravazza. Yeah,
Danny Lee on the racing line. Just tries to, does it cut back here? No, he just tries to get the run out of Ravazza too, and he will do along the straight, slipstreaming him down towards Tamburello chicane, and he's right in the draft, all ready to make the move. Just got to wait till Buticus chooses his line, and he's off on the grass as he's coming through. That's not what I expected. That track is wide enough for 2 wide, guys, come on. But very brave there by Danny Lee, but determined to get that position back. But as we say, KK Ming, he's very good at saving them half spins. He's had 2 or 3 of them this season and got away with it. Didn't quite get away with it at Road America when we raced there. That was his worst result of the season, but I think there's a few connection issues as well. But Brad Philpott puts in his best lap of the race, a 36.9. Closes another 10th on KK Ming, so this race is certainly not over at the moment. Just having a look, yeah, there's about 4 drivers that have done 36s, and the fastest lap does go to KK Ming at the moment, but 9/10 of a second, so that draft will be coming back from KK Ming and just dragging Philpott along. They have dropped Luke Maxwell by about 1.5 seconds now, but he's clear of John McCutchinson, so Danny Lee here on the screen in 5th place has 7 seconds to close on McCutchinson. So I think this is, like you say, Dane, the furthest he's going to get today. He's going to get a 1st to 5th out of this, which is still a great result. Further back, just looking, Humphrey, Reeve, Smith, Saul and Treseda all out of the race. But Graham Brown, knowing that every point counts in a championship, even though he's well clear, just plodding along in 15th place, just trying to score them points, and he is actually 6th in class, so it's still worth just keeping going, and it just shows, you know, every point will count in this championship, even if you're miles clear.
Yep, and he's 16th class because a couple of drivers in his class have unfortunately not been able to finish this race after incidents at the start and in the first few laps of the race. Engelhardt's off the circuit and has been for quite some time. I wonder what's happened to the German driver currently in 10th place and actually now dropping back. What has happened to Engelhardt? He's off the circuit somewhere along the line as he is just about back onto the circuit. Lost about 10 seconds there, did Engelhardt. He's dropped all the way back to 12th, so he's lost 3 positions too. So what's happened to the German driver that was up in the top 10? Is it Ravazza?
It's Ravazza again.
It's a very common corner for the drivers to be making mistakes at. Is it on the entry or the exit? Oh, it's the exit of the first part of the corner. She just about keeps it out of the wall. Oh, then drives into it. But yeah, that's a very tricky spot to try and get out of. Daniel Beauchamp, we can try and get past the driver that is in front of him. Possibly a lapped car. Going through Villeneuve. Oh, it was Thurman for 8th place. Tolman for 8th place, sorry. So, a good move there from Beauchamp. I think Tolman sort of let him by there, I think, a bit.
Yeah, just trying to keep second in the AM category. He's fighting for second in the championship with Kev Copeland. He sort of pulled out the gap in the first race. He's still ahead of Copeland in the second, so he's looking at a very good second place in the championship. With that spin for Engelhardt, really easy to do, but I think he's just missing that bent rear wing. I think he just wanted to get that back. He didn't like it being fixed, and he made less mistakes with the bent rear wing, so maybe it provides a little bit more downforce through that.
Yeah, Thurman doing a nice job here in 6. He's got Puticlist for company, so he's not all alone. Also, in the meantime, Ming has him extended his gap to Philpott by about half a second, as we are 3.5 minutes away from ending the season. The sun is beginning to set. You can see it reflecting on the cars. A slight orange hue to the air at the moment. And yeah, very close to rounding off what has been a fantastic inaugural season of this Apex Racing League Radical Championship. And Kike Ming is looking to finish it up on the top step of the podium where he began it all the way back at Suzuka for the first round of this championship. And Thurman still under pressure from Puticlist, less than 0.2 of a second is the gap between these two at the moment, as they make their way through the middle sector now into Aqua Minerale. You can see the inputs that Aldous Puticlist is having to make. This car is very squirrely on the brakes into the corners, especially when you then have to put the power back on as well. We'll see over the chicane, massive correction actually having to be made there for Puticlist. He's done very well to keep that one going in a fairly straight line actually. He's very nearly lost that one right around. Malloy in 10th, so he's back where he was a few laps ago. And Ming with a very fast lap that time by, gaining a good 0.8 of a second on Philpott in front.
Yeah, Engelhardt having a look at Haraski there for 11th place. Haraski just, I don't know whether he's just not got quite on top of the Radicals at the moment, but he's struggled through part of the season, as Kike Ming is now 2.5 seconds clear of Philpott, and without another mistake, I think this is Kike Ming's race to lose and championship to lose. Possibly already has the championship in his pocket going into this race. We haven't really got the calculator out at this stage, but I'm sure Kike Ming knows what he needs to do to claim this inaugural Radical title on the Apex Racing League, as Haraski is now still under pressure from Christian Engelhardt, who I actually need to learn how Engelhardt drives, because I'll be racing him in the GTM Championship that will be starting on Apex Racing TV on Tuesday next week. So make sure that you tune in for that, and you can see whether I can drive just as well as I can talk. I've just set myself up for a massive fail there, but Engelhardt still applying the pressure and certainly showing that he is quick enough to compete in the Radical Championship all over Haraski, and this is probably one of the closest battles on circuit at the moment. Everybody's sort of a little bit spaced out. Beauchamp and Puticlist are quite close together, but they have headed round onto the final lap, and Kike Ming has a 2.7 second lead onto this final lap, and I think it will probably be game, set and match to the Spaniard in terms of the championship and the race.
Absolutely, as I said earlier, he's absolutely dominated this season so far. The 16th lap of the race here at Imola will be the last in the championship, and honestly, he's just been so on it the entire season long. He won the opening round at Suzuka, then in the second round of the season, I believe that was at Red Bull Ring, another win for him there. Then, as you said, Road America wasn't the best round for him, but still finished 9th, so not a bad round either. 3rd overall in the Circuit de Spa-Francorchamps round 4, and then obviously taking the win last time out at Sebring, and it looks like he is well on his way to do the exact same here at Imola. Didn't finish first in race number 1. That went to Danny Lee. He's already celebrating. He knows even if he somehow doesn't win this race, the championship is most definitely his. doing a bit of weaving down the back straight, and now out of the final corner he comes, and after a dominating first 5 rounds of the season, the 6th and final round of the season goes to Kike Ming, crosses the line, and he is your Apex Racing League Radical Championship champion in the pro category. Luke Maxwell will come across the line to take the win in the AM category as well, but Kike Ming, what a performance he's had all season long, and finishing it off in the best fashion.
Yeah, dominant isn't even a strong enough word for it. We've seen, it's sort of, I'd say, Schumacher proportions of dominance. He's had one bad race really, and the other times when he has made mistakes, he's been able to use his speed to close it down. And Kike Ming is a well-deserved champion. I think everybody will say that at the end of the season. Brad Philpott taking 2nd in the championship. Nobody called that at the start of the season due to him not even being here. So that is a great achievement for Brad. And I think Daniel Beauchamp will be taking the final rostrum place in the championship. McCutchinson with a strong drive to end the year in 4th. Danny Lee showing his pace to come back through the field into 5th. But in the amateur category, I think it'd be Graham Brown that takes the title from Marco Tolman, and Kev Copeland should just about beat Seabass. Yes, it's going to be close between them two, but I think it will be Kev Copeland who takes 3rd there. But it's donut time for Kike Ming.
It absolutely is, and race 2 results are up on the screen. Of course, Kike Ming, who else takes the win here for the final race of the season at Imola. Brad Philpott finishes in 2nd, rounding out a very good round for him. Luke Maxwell, fantastic round, pretty much could not have gone too much better for the AM driver, taking the win in both race 1 and race 2 in his class. Finished on the podium here in race 2 as well. John McCutchinson finishes in 4th after a probably disappointing season for him. He's been consistently near the front, just not quite able to get onto that top level in the season. So looking to probably come back a little bit stronger in season 2. Danny Lee in 5th position there, race 1 winner, won 2 races this season. I'm sure he'll be very happy with how his season has gone. Mike Derman in 6th place, Aldous Putiglis in 7th place, those two having a nice battle in the end as well. Daniel Beauchamp in 8th, another person who might be a bit disappointed with how the season went. Showed some very good signs of pace, but more than a couple of occasions just making one too many mistakes. The mistake I remember at Spa-Francorchamps at the start of the race, and then here again a couple of mistakes into Ravazza. So unfortunate season for him, but definitely showing signs of him being one of the strongest in the championship. Marco Tolman finishes 9th overall, 2nd in the category. Sean Malloy rounds out your top 10 after starting from pole position here. He didn't have the best of starts, dropped back very far down the field, so a good comeback drive for him to still finish inside that top 10. Miro Fraski in 11th, then Christian Engelhardt in 12th, Thomas Seabass, Kev Copeland and Graham Brown rounding out the drivers, finishing that 2nd race of the evening. Bob Humphrey, Jack Reeve, Joseph Saul, I believe a couple of other drivers as well not able to finish this race. Just looking back, it's Joseph Saul, Aaron Smith and John Tressida as well, not quite able to finish this 2nd race of the evening. But we have got a couple of drivers waiting to have a chat, and I think of the drivers that we have, there is absolutely only one place to start, and that is with what we believe, at least, I don't really see how we couldn't be, your champion for the first season of the Apex Racing League Radical Championship. It is your champion, Kike Ming, joining us in the commentary booth, I believe, for one of the first times, at least for me, after one of these rounds. Kike, welcome to the interview room, and congratulations on the win here today. It must have felt pretty good coming across the line. I could see you weaving on the final lap, just probably taking it all in a bit, but a fantastic season for yourself.
Thank you, Dane. Yeah, finally I win the championship. Was a tough race, that's why I was waving at the end. But yeah, this is what I wanted, and the win is mine.
Absolutely. I believe that's your 6th win of the season overall out of the 9 events that we've had. It's been a really fantastic performance from you, not just of course here at Imola where you're obviously taking the win in that second race, but obviously Sebring last time out taking one of the wins, Spa-Francorchamps taking with a win in race number 1, and then obviously winning the first round at Suzuka as well, a couple races at Red Bull Ring too. Just utter domination for yourself. Obviously you made it look easy, but I would guess it wasn't so easy for you.
Yeah, it's not as easy as it looks, but yes, I did a solid championship. I win a lot of races, and the other races I have the chance to win them. So I'm very happy, and I'm looking forward to the second edition of the championship.
Absolutely, but just looking back on your season as a whole, you obviously won at almost every single round. What's been your favorite round of this season? Out of the 6 circuits that we've visited, what was your favorite round that you've had this season so far?
I think the second one, Red Bull Ring, is one of my favorite circuits, and was the debut of the short format, and I prefer the short one rather than the long one, because make races much more interesting, and everyone have the chance to lead the race. So if I have to take one of the races, would be Red Bull Ring.
That's probably one of the ones that I would take as well. It's definitely one of my favorite circuits on the sim. But yeah, it's been a fantastic season for yourself. You wrap it up with a win here in the second race tonight. Really couldn't have done too much better for yourself here, taking the championship. Fantastic stuff from yourself there. Congratulations. Before we let you go here and you can go celebrate your championship win, is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to here on Apex Racing TV?
Yeah, I would like to shout out my parents. They've encouraged me each races. I can hear them screaming, and I shout out you guys as well. Thank you for the broadcasting and all the effort you have done to make this championship become real. So thank you.
Well, thank you so much for putting on a great show for us. You make our job in the commentary booth much easier when you give us some fantastic racing. Well, SDK Gaming, thank you so much for joining us here in the commentary booth. Congratulations on not only the win tonight, but also the championship win as well. And hopefully we'll see you out on track very, very soon.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Well, it was fantastic to hear from SDK Gaming then. He sounded very, very pleased with himself after taking the win in the championship there. David, you've got a couple of drivers that you can have a chat with now. I believe we've got a couple of drivers there. Take your pick. Who would you like to have a chat to next?
Yeah, I think we'll have a talk to Daniel Lee, who dominated the opening race and had a good drive back in the second race. Danny, that was a mixed night. You probably thought a bit more might come of it apart from that race 2 incident.
Race 1 that's never happened. A pole straight to win, especially with that kind of pressure behind that. As I just said to John, that's the cleanest I've ever handed in my homework. That really was. No mistakes. Every single tenth was claimed. Maybe a couple of inconsistencies as I sort of got out of the cold tyre phase and into the warm tyre phase. There is a weirdness in between those two windows where you're not sure whether you can push or not, and he got on it faster than I did, so he clawed back the temps as we got on. But brilliant race, brilliant chase from John. I can't really find fault with that race 1. It just seemed to go well.
Yeah, it did seem to go well for you, and I think you were about 2 seconds clear by the end of lap 2 or something. So that was almost perfection, shall we say, with that race. But the second race, you had to avoid an incident in the Villeneuve chicane.
Yeah, Make and John, they had a bit of a tangle going too wide. Normally you're thinking, great, I'm going to benefit from this if I can steer clear of the collateral damage that comes of it. Make got sort of nudged a little bit wide. He had to make a choice, stay on track or completely cut chicane. he had to stay on track, but that meant he had a really narrow angle coming into the second half of that chicane. I don't know the name of it. You just mentioned it, but it's gone straight out of my head.
Villeneuve.
Villeneuve, there you go. Yeah, so he saved the first half of the chicane and kept it on track, but that meant he had absolutely no chance of making the second bit. Managed to spot him coming in at a crazy angle on the right side monitor here, and just went off with him. We just agreed in that split second, we're both going in the sand, but we're going to come out without damage. So it was fun to carry on. To be able to carry on from that was the most important thing. Neither of us had damage, and we both lived to fight further down the road.
Yeah, you moved up into 5th place by the end of that, so a good comeback drive. You've sort of had, I want to say, an up and down season, because you've been really quick most of the time, and then just every now and again there's been a little incident like the second race here that's just stopped you challenging for that victory or whatever. Did you want a little bit more from the season you've had so far? Or...
I'm always a little bit up and down, to be honest with you. It's never spotlessly clean. This season, compared to other ARL seasons that I've been taking part in, mostly GTE, I've clicked more with a Radical. I've got to say, I've done better than I expected, especially with such high-class competition here. There are some genuine veterans that have just got this car like the back of their hand, so I'm happy with what I've had, and there'll only be further improvements as we go on. I hope to be back again once the Radicals fire up once more, but I'm happy. I'm really happy. We've had some great peaks, 2 wins in a series, and that's normally one event, normally 1 win a season if I'm lucky, and that's over a 12 race season, so I'm happy.
But it'd be great to see you come back when the Radicals rejoin. Is there anybody you want to give a shout out to at the end of this season?
I guess there's definitely credit to be put in the recent equipment changes. I've now been bestowed with a GT Omega Prime. You know, they always say you need that extra 10th, and the equipment usually gives you an extra 10th. Definitely did in race 1, so credit to GT Omega for putting together something decent. Thanks to you guys for the league and the admin, the broadcast, and to the grid for being such good racers.
Yeah, it's been some great racing throughout the year, and you've been part of that, so thank you, Danny, and we'll hopefully see you in season 2.
See you soon. Cheers.
That is Danny Lee, who won the first race and finished 5th this time in race 2.
Yep, absolutely. And it looks like we do have one more driver waiting to have a chat with us. I'm not entirely sure which of the Hutches this is, but we're going to have a chat with him regardless. I'm pretty sure I can figure out who it is. He joins us now. John McCutcheon, 4th place for you in race 2, 2nd place for you in race number 1. A fairly decent round, I would say, here in Imola.
Yeah, good night, I think. Enjoyed that.
So, final race of the season over. The 6 rounds completed. Not too sure exactly where you finished in the championship, but definitely it's going to be up there somewhere. What are your thoughts on the championship as a whole? Obviously, you've come close to winning multiple times. I'm not too sure if you maybe won a race at Road America or if that was somebody else. I wasn't there for that round. But you definitely showed signs of being one of the fastest drivers in the series. You must have had quite a bit of fun out there.
Yeah, I said in comms after the race to everyone in the series that it was a really good series and a lot of respectful driving and hard racing. You know, so it was pretty good. All the guys done well for the first season. You know, so hopefully there'll be another season. And yeah, I think I won it Road America. I think it was. Not sure. Bad memory.
I think that was it. Yeah, just heading into, of course, a potential second season. I'm pretty sure after the first one has been such a success, the guys over at Apex recently probably will host a second season at some point further down the line. But just looking back on the first season, of course, you had the 6 rounds, different formats at different rounds. What was your favourite format and what was your favourite round of the season overall?
Oh, favourite round's Road America. Obviously the one I won it. No, this was good. I enjoyed tonight. I liked the 2 races tonight. The other 2 race series at Red Bull was a bit of a nightmare for me, but I enjoyed that tonight. It was good. So I probably favour the 2 25 race slots.
Yeah, I think that's probably my favourite as well. The reverse grid also gave us some pretty good racing throughout the field as well. I can confirm, yes, I've just checked the the standings, and it was you that won at Road America for round number 3. But yeah, just an overall fantastic season from everybody out on the circuit. Who did you enjoy racing the most? Obviously, you had your fair host of battles with different drivers throughout the season. Who was your favourite driver to race up against?
No favourite, well, I don't know about favourite, but the toughest was Kiki Ming at, what do you call it, Sebring last week. Oh man, that was tough. Trying to keep up with him. And my shoulder was so sore that I was running out of energy to try and keep up with him. He's so fast and so consistent. So Kiki's probably the strongest in the championship and deserved the win. I said earlier, all the guys are real respectful driving. They're all good to drive against. There's no one, crazy if you like.
That's great to hear. Sometimes you do get the odd couple of drivers, but that's what I've heard from most of the drivers. It does seem to have been a very clean league, which is always fantastic to see and hear. So it looks like the drivers are all very happy with how the season has gone. John, thank you so much for joining us for an interview. Congratulations on making it to the end of the season and taking a podium in race number 1 here at Imola as well. Hopefully we'll see you back out on track very, very soon. But before we let you go, is there anyone you would like to give a shout out to on Apex Racing TV?
Yeah, shout out to you guys for the broadcast. They're really good. They're very professional, and I think everyone's enjoyed it. And obviously a shout out to Kiki Ming for winning the championship. So well done, and I'll see you guys next season.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for joining us, and we will hopefully see you very, very soon.
Thank you.
Oh, very good to hear there from Hutchinson. It was just a fantastic season in my opinion. I was only here for the second half of it, but from everything that I've seen, it was absolutely brilliant racing throughout. David, you were here for 5 of the rounds, I believe. What are your thoughts on the season as a whole and heading into a possible season 2?
Yeah, we've seen some great racing. As much as Kike has run away with the championship in terms of points, most of the races have been super close. Shows the competitiveness of the field, and you got to remember we're drawing in some of these great drivers, from the real world of racing as well into this championship. So it can only get stronger, and this season has certainly proved that. While Kike has took all them victories, we've seen. Let me just bring up the championship quickly. We've seen Kundalis look very quick, Philpotts look very quick, Beauchamp, Puticlis, McCutchinson, Lee. There's just a few names already who just need to add the consistency to their results, and they'll be right up there, and we could have a 6 or 7 way fight for the title.
Yep, absolutely. So it was a very closely fought season, even though Kike Ming did, of course, win in the majority of the races. It really was some fantastic racing throughout the season. I've absolutely loved every single round that I've had the privilege of commentating on so far in the series. Hopefully we'll be back for a second season and we can do this all over again. Well, what a season it has been. What a round we have just seen at the Autodromo Enza Edino Ferrari, and hopefully Marco Barbanera doesn't murder me after the broadcast for my pronunciation of the circuit's name. But yeah, before we sign off for the season, I do have to give a very, very special thank you to Marco Barbanera for being on the broadcast team for the whole season and for a lot of the broadcast that I've been on for the last couple of years. He is going to be taking a little bit of a break after this iRacing season, so he has got a few broadcasts left, but he will be taking a break from broadcasting for a bit. I would just like to, on behalf of everyone at Apex Racing TV, but definitely just myself, give a massive thank you to Marco for all the work he's done over the past few years for us, and hopefully he will have a very happy sort of retirement, as it were, and hopefully we'll see him very, very soon back on the broadcast. But Marco, I would just like to say thank you so much. You did my first broadcast with me back all those years ago, and yeah, thanks for doing all that you have done. Well, that just about wraps everything up then. It has been a fantastic season here in the Apex Racing League Radical Championship, and we hope to see you all very, very soon. But for now, from myself, from David Whitehouse in the commentary booth, from Marco Barbanera in the production booth, and from everyone else here at Apex Racing TV, we would like to wish you a good night and happy racing.